ready? Eric? Eric, do you want to move over this so you're not so far away? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nancy Humbles, and I am one of the committee members for the Not Without Me Forum. And I am so happy that each and every one of you are here today, even with the basketball tournaments going on. I thank you. And as you all know, Iowa did lose. And that's a sad thing. It's 2:10, and I want to get started, so I welcome. And you know that we have this is an ongoing series, so we will be running through October. And Eric, once he comes up, he'll share information about the next forum. But our moderator today is Mr. Eric Thompson, and I was just talking to him today, and I met Eric when he was 17. So I've known him for over 30 years, and I've watched him. Do I? So now you know his age. So Eric will lead us through this forum today. So Mr. Thompson, if you could come forward. And I hand it over to you.
Thank you. You know, honestly, if it hadn't been for Mrs. Humbles, I wouldn't have been able to ascend academically at Iowa and then move on and go to a bunch of other schools, but that's for another day. Thank you, Mrs. Humbles. I really appreciate all of you being here today. I'd like to begin by thanking the NAACP and the African American Museum of Iowa for their leadership in taking such a bold step toward empowering our community. I was here for last month's forum and left motivated and excited by the level of engagement, discussion, and possibilities. The impetus for these forums is to focus on the achievement gap among our community's students and to determine solutions for parental and community engagement that will result in success for all of our students academically. The NAACP and the museum are working closely with our school district to assist in this endeavor. A study released on March 17th of this year during the American Educational Research Association convention showed that students who cannot read at grade level 3 are 4 times less likely to graduate by the age of 19 than a child who does read proficiently by that time. While there are strides being made within our district, we understand that this is a holistic community issue. We need everyone's commitment to improve community engagement to make an impact on increasing student achievement. Last month during the forum, we looked at barriers to parental and community engagement. The top barriers included time, transportation, access awareness, and a lack of a welcoming environment. We ended the forum with personal commitments from those of you who were there on how to overcome these barriers and become more engaged in our students' education. Some examples of your personal commitments included carpooling for school meetings and extracurriculars, tutoring in our schools, mentoring and connecting with students about their opportunities. So today, we hope to delve a little deeper into understanding what parental and community engagement could really look like, and hopefully inspire some more commitments from our stakeholders, students, parents, community members, and educators. The ultimate goal of these Not Without Me forums is for all of us stakeholders gathered to identify strategies to share with the district that include tangible solutions and measurable outcomes to increase proficiencies in reading, math, and science. Because the word that connects Cedar Rapids to school district is community. In order to dig deeper, we would like to use this session to do more information gathering. So let's begin by breaking out into stakeholder groups, which you currently have. And facilitators, if you could at this time, please physically acknowledge who you are and where you are.
Raise your hands.
Pardon? Yes. Sure, yeah, yes. So the facilitators are now, they have the opportunity to pick their groups to get ready for the question session. And just so you have the ability to speak with one another, those of you who are seated in front of someone, you may need to turn and face them. Please share what you honestly feel about each question. That is roughly 10 minutes, and then for 5 minutes, the entire group will then send your idea or two to your group facilitator, who will then report out up here on the microphone.
This group is a little larger than it needs to be. So
The educator group, it's great to see all of you. We're going to break you guys up because you're too large. And so we want to make sure we have the discussion going on. So if we could get half of you to move over to that section. I'm sorry, you probably just moved from there. You guys are fine.
So what we'll do now is take hopefully 5 minutes, and the facilitators from each group will share what your individual group came up with collectively, and then we will move on to question 2. Darius, would you like to start? Take it over there.
Okay, so we tried to break it down to just 3 things. So they're pretty heavy in terms of what's in them, but the first one we said was organic and authentic partnerships. So people feel involved, people feel invested, feel like they're getting what they need from it, and there's communication in both directions. Which leads to our second one, which is continuous 360-degree feedback and communication. So everyone's getting what they need, both physically and verbally, out of our arrangement. And then last but not least, extend academic vision beyond the school. So what is the vision of the school? Every learner, future ready, and making sure that every parent knows that and making sure that they can help their students with that every single night at home.
Also, I those educators over in the corner there, raise your hand. So we started getting into some of our deeper solutions, but use of technology for communication, and when not to use technology. For folks that may have struggles with different types of technology. More job shadowing that don't just require a degree. Can we get more of those types of job shadow opportunities? Building relationships outside of just conferences. Are we making sure that you know how the kids are doing before conferences and not just when conferences time come? And more community and school resource relationships, such as LBA and Boys and Girls Club. How can we get more interaction, deliberate synergy between school and community resources for help?
All right, got community back over in the corner over there. Kind of all sounding the same, but participation and communication. Teaching parents how to get the resources. We got a young brother over there. He started listing all these resources that are out here that we had no idea were available. Give parents opportunity to get an education if needed. We're finding too many parents, we're thinking they may not understand what it is that you're talking about with the lingos and things that are there, but they don't want to feel stupid when they ask a question. And I always say the only stupid question is the one you don't ask. So You know, we're giving them that opportunity to get that education, because we don't know, maybe they're reading on the 3rd grade level and think it's good enough because they got a job, but it's not a good job. So, you know, that was our top 3.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Our group, a very big group in the back there, focused on the community opportunities. And a lot of the themes already expressed are what we drilled into, but deeper engagement by the community, you know, from all facets and all aspects of the community, you know, not just parents and grandparents, but companies and corporations. You know, I look around the room, and we talked about this in our group, and I didn't ask for a show of hands, but there probably aren't a lot of representation from the companies and corporations in the region. And bottom line, that's the group, or a group that should be here, because they benefit from what we're trying to do here, from the standpoint of future employment, you know, from the standpoint of customers. You know, they should be here instead of just writing a check. And I'm saying that because we're kind of wearing the corporate hat. You know, it's something that needs to happen. There are financial and volunteer gaps. There are a lot of groups, actually, that are doing some of the work that we're wanting to support and make happen. But some of them aren't talking. You know, we kind of you know, did some brief brainstorming, or some examples were thrown out there. But better coordinating the efforts, making sure that the gaps are filled, and making sure that there's some communal effort to support the groups that are, you know, attempting to elevate, you know, the organization, gaps in the school system, or opportunities, so that there's just more muscle behind things that we need to do. So that, in a nutshell, is what we briefly discussed. I apologize because there are a lot of good, specific thoughts and ideas, but that's kind of the umbrella summary.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you. Well, so I'm with the youth or student group. Yeah. We say nothing for us without us, so I have this young lady to represent her group.
Hello, my name is Diamond Roundtree. I go to Washington High School, and I'm a junior. And so for our question, our answers were a balance between school and community. So as parents, you know, we think that parents should go to community events, also school events, to represent, you know, their families and to represent the school. Having a say in school, like schedule and decision making, you know, around their schedule and their decision, what they think is best for their students and other students and their experiences. Parent representation in schools and in the community. Sometimes students can open up more with other people, other parents, rather than their own. Also supporting students in the school, and because they may not get it at home, and so just having that parent figure in the school and letting them know that, you know, they can do anything that they set their mind to, and so just keep encouraging them and being there for them and being that parent role.
Good afternoon. All right, so my name is Dedrick Roundtree, and I represent this panel of parents and former teachers and current teachers. And our answers to this question revolved around the word communication. Says our communications seem to have been the common thread of our talk, right? To foster parent and community involvement, to create a partnership between parents, staff, and community through activities that are outside of the PTA, outside of whatever the normal means are. Try to go over and beyond those normal means just to make sure that we have communicated both, you know what we need and we know it, and we the parents know what you need, right? Advocacy, meeting people where they are, breaking the cycle of being uncomfortable between teachers and parents. Sometimes parents don't know how to communicate with us, with teachers. But In other words, they don't know how to come out of their neighborhood way of thinking or speaking. And so having that barrier be cut and be able to just be able to one another, right? Creating ideas and resources that will provide better communication between parents and teachers. Parents taking responsibility for their own part of communicating. Having a network of parents to build networks that are comfortable for both parents and teachers to engage each other. That's it.
I'm going to first read, we were the parent group here in the middle. I'm going to first read our vision statement because we thought that's what we were supposed to do, as well as list our ideas. So to foster parent and community involvement, create partnership between parents, staff, and community activities outside of PTO. And so some of the ideas that we had were involving the parents more so when there's good things going on, not when there's a problem. Communicating with parents all the time. One parent says they email every Monday to their parents' teachers, or to their students' teachers every week, just to make sure the teachers know what she's thinking and what she wants to hear. There is a triangle that is necessary for a student to be successful, and that's parent, student, and teacher, and have the involvement continue, create that partnership or support. Have welcome activities that connect parents, board members, and give a voice in policy when something is being changed in the school. Consider an email group, a parent email group. Involvement in PTO must be much more diverse and should also be inviting. And then one other idea we had is having activities in the community, because most kids and parents live near their school. So take the events outside of the school building. Parents don't necessarily want to come into schools for different reasons, different emotions. Having activities that happen outside of the building and in the community.
All right, now we have question number 2 for you. What needs to happen for your vision to become a reality? Go. To share what your group came up with for this second question.
Vision. Advertise the need of volunteers, and how do those volunteers get certified?
Rita, put the mic up closer so.
Okay. Advertise the need of volunteers, and how do you get certified? Making sure they're engaged. Invite parents to participate in fun night activities. Listen and respond to the kids. I wanted Maurice to kind of tell you a little bit of what he said back in our group, just real brief.
I'll try to paraphrase, but I don't quite remember. I was basically telling my group that one of the biggest problems that I see as a community member is I don't have any children. I'm not from Iowa. I'm not from the Cedar Rapids area. And so when I go out to participate in things in the community, I have never heard the Cedar Rapids School District or the community school district asking for my help. So how do we go about communicating with professionals and other people in the community and asking for their help and letting us know what it is that is needed?
Very good. There we go.
Okay, so I'm back for the educators group, educator group number 1. There's 2 of us. So we looked at 3 things, and we said it starts off with our intercultural competency and making sure that when we approach someone, we're assuming best intent and we're trying to understand where they're coming from, as opposed to just placing our thoughts and values on them without actually taking the time to understand them. The second one, which we think is equally important, is owning the problem, because we all have a role in which we can play, and then we also have a role in finding a solution. Now that led us to the big question, which is how do you know what the problem is? How do you communicate that solution? And there's a lot of ways, and there's no one perfect way. So we went back to like the old school method of talking about a newsletter, but we talked about how right now we don't take it full advantage of all the options you can. We don't put in there all the volunteer opportunities that we have. We don't put in there all the opportunities in which the school is setting up an evening where they're soliciting feedback in person. And so making sure that those things are involved. Also incorporating a team composition that goes beyond just your teachers or your staff members in the school, having community members help with actually creating that communication that goes out. Again, taking advantage of all the formats, and then last but not least, not just stopping with a paper or digital newsletter, but actually trying to do home visits, weather and time permitting.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
All right. So I had the educators group over here, some of the same information, but the one thing I was really, really excited about, as we talked about technology, I just learned that Cedar Rapids is embarking on a 5-year rollout plan for all students. Is it by 2000, don't know when? 2022, 23?
The 5-year rollout technology.
The technology plan?
By 2022, 2023.
By 2023, every middle and high school student will have access to a device, a computer or laptop in their hand. That is huge, huge. Adjust conference times. We have an educator from the East Coast in here, and I think this probably happens in other communities in Iowa, but some school districts literally shut down their schools for the entire day for conference, so that parents that work second, we need to go back. We need to go back. So shut down the schools, and using buses for transportation on those days, that money's spent already anyway. So during those days, we can bus parents that need transportation, we can bus them around that day. Parent training program, lovely Mr. Klein from my Washington Warrior High School, go Warriors, that's right, Warriors, Class 87. Where he came from, they have a parent university where they're educating parents on what it's like to be a teacher in the school, what the conferences are like, what homework's like, how they give out your homework, how they discipline your students when they're in trouble. A lot of that it actually elicits more direct communication out of email, out of phone, and more one-on-one. So that was good. And then, of course, extend the school year. We can't stand that school year. They don't want to hear that over there. Extend the school year.
Very good, Anthony. Thanks a lot. All right, crowd. Let's refocus. Thank you. This is from the report out from the community group in the back. First of all, cultural competency and competency training for teachers and folks in the schools. We can't just assume that everybody is on board. This should be something, it probably is, but something that we should always stress, continue to stress. There's still some barriers, big barriers, that are resulting in our kids not being that is supporting that effort, that is hampering that effort to keep and get our students engaged. Presenting information to the people at the places where they are. Churches, other organizations, certain groups and board meetings, whatever and wherever people are. Let's make sure that the information about what's going on, what services are available to help students and parents get connected. Let's make sure that it's there, whether it's just digital information scrolling, or whether it's somebody with a list of things at a meeting just talking about this stuff and talking about where community members can get and should get more engaged in supporting the efforts in our education system. Complete list of organizations and programs that are playing a part in this whole effort to help people elevate. There's a lot of work, a lot of good people doing good stuff. There's probably some gaps that can be filled with support that can be provided one group to another. Not to mention that some of us should know what these organizations are and what they're doing and what they may need from physical support or dollars and cents. Share successful efforts. Share the successes that are happening in the schools. We hear a lot about the bad stuff, every night on TV. But rare is the time that we hear and see about the good things that are going on. And you look at Dr. White's group, the Academy. We should be hearing about that every day. Anytime there's a bad story, there should be a good story about what's going on out there in the community and what students of color are doing from the positive perspective and where more help and engagement is needed. Identify ways for parents to be more involved. That was kind of talked through, I think, by some others. We need to make sure that we need to not just assume that parents are not walking into conferences just because they don't know about them. There's some discomfort, there's other gaps, whether you're talking transportation or whether you're just talking about some historic challenges that prevent people from walking into that school and sit down and have a comfortable conversation with a teacher or principal. We need to be mindful of that, those gaps, those things. We need to figure out what they are and work to break down those barriers. And the last thing, we do need to make sure that our efforts and our schools are truly, truly inclusive. And I'm talking about LGBTQ students. I'm talking about students that are challenged in so many different ways that we aren't necessarily even talking about on a daily basis. We all know they're there. We need to recognize that the world is way more dynamic, continually changing. There's stresses that students are seeing today that they weren't yesterday. Stresses that students will see next year that they aren't this year. We just need to understand that, continue to remind ourselves of that, figure out what we can do to help support, our students and their challenges. And that is it from the back group. Sorry, team, if I didn't cover everything. I saw a hand go up. One comment? Thank you. I'll pass it on.
It'll only go so far. You can only go so far.
Alright, so we talked about having parents understanding the grading system and what projects are happening with their students. A lot of parents don't understand how some projects are graded. Right here?
No, you just need to talk a little louder.
Oh, it's just me? Alright.
Force yourself.
That's alright.
Okay.
Alright, and making info easier to get, not as much info, but probably make it smaller instead of a huge pile of information, just the information that's important. And needed contact, like snail mail, or balance between students and parents. Yeah,
So, I thought it was interesting that the group of young people over there identified that technology isn't our friend most of the time when it comes to their parents. That the one true ism is that the mail does run at least Monday through Saturday. But technology, being that some people don't have access to email, internet, and even if they do, they don't check it, or to one person's credit said, if my mama don't know the number, she's not going to answer the text. So technology is not always what we think it is. It's not always the most efficient. It is available for some, and so we are also talking about different pathways to make sure that those parents who are more tech savvy, that they do get the mail that way. But more than anything else, it is the overwhelming sense of the data dump that parents get at the beginning of semesters in school. If it can be broken down into smaller chunks, the things that are most important, how do I update my information? How do I know what my children's grades are and what their schedules are? And maybe one or two other things. The last thing was, and then I'll give it back to you, was having a buddy system, kind of like what you guys talked about in that group back there, of parents who don't want to go places unless they know somebody. So if I have somebody to help me transition into being more accustomed to what my children's schools are expecting of both them and myself, then it's a little bit easier. But if I have that as my barrier and that is not being accounted for, then I am a person who wants to participate, but I'm not going to do so because I can't get past my discomfort. And that's something that these young people are very insightful. So with that, I'll give it back to Dedrick. Are you gonna? Remember to speak up, David. Speak up.
And last bullet point is importance of student responsibility. when students get information from their teachers, they should reply it back to the parents right away so that the parents know.
All right, so from our parent-teacher group here, we've said communication, consistency through structures and tools, whatever they are, whatever they're created to be. I've heard several times this same thing being said, well, if they don't know how to use it, let's teach them how to use it and then use it, right? Instead of keep changing it over and over again, and then they get, well, never mind. Keep going. Taking action steps that are urgent, right? Making sure the word gets out to as many people as possible. Connecting with community ideas and parents. Taking proactive steps to bringing parents and teacher relationship in. One of our parents said, well, how about if we do a parent email, like a group parent email. So I'll spearhead it for next fall. I'll start a group parent email, not me, the parent. I'll start a group parent email, and I'll put at least 10 people on there, and 10 people will tell 10 people, and 10 people will tell 10 people, so that communication piece increases, right? Right. Having that social media communication take part. I'm terrible at that. I'm not a Facebooker, but for those who are, yeah. Connecting church and community with school announcements and church bulletin. For those of us who are really strong in our faith, and we visit our churches regularly, we get announcements every Sunday, don't we? There's always an announcement about something, so we can include what's going on at your local school. And then announcements about, I would say 10 out of 10 go to that school who attend that church. All right? All right. And that's about it.
So for our parent group, the one in the middle, there is a disconnect how volunteers are recruited. So you heard it in the last one, an email parent group that will facilitate making sure all the parents receive the necessary information. LBA, Leaders, Believers, and Achievers, use that model to explore goals and requirements for achieving those goals. It's a mentorship program and also an academy like Focus. Dr. White's program, and Leaders, Believers, and Achievers is Al Bannon's program. Parents and teachers must demonstrate that they believe in students. We had quite a lengthy discussion about success and what that looks like. If teachers already are viewing kids or viewing the students as at risk and they can't be successful, self-fulfilling prophecy. They will be exactly who we expect them to be. So flip it, and let's think of every kid as having the opportunity for success. And we finished by looking at federal versus local curriculum. Actively participate with our legislators is the other half, but we are grouping all of our kids. They're being taught the exact same thing. It's coming from the feds, and the way our education system used to be is, use Iowa, for instance, because that's what we're all accustomed to. We were agricultural community, so kids were geared for those professions. If we started looking at gearing our kids for real jobs of the future, and 50% of those jobs haven't even been created yet, if we could start gearing our educational system around that method, we would start preparing our kids for success. A phrase is great, but actual implementation is completely different.
All right, thank you very much. We are going to tie this up here within the next 30 minutes. And prior to doing so, If you did not have an opportunity to sign in prior to sitting down, please do so, so we know that you were here. Also, there's food there, so take that. If you have to dump it in your bag, do it. Secondly, what we'd like to do now is each youth organization listed above, including the Cedar Rapids Civil Rights Commission, will come forward and present at least 2 minutes of what their program is all about and how they impact the community and how you may be able to help. And we will start with, unless somebody shoots me or I die, fall into the river, or develop Alzheimer's, I will always say this of this woman. As a child, I remember playing in the pit of the old Paramount Theater with in fact, I watched my father play the drums, and I sat there wanting to do that, while Cedar Rapidians were on the stage when the Follies were actually, yes, I'm about to say this, good. And this woman was perhaps single-handedly the best part of the show. She is single-handedly, in my opinion, somebody for whom I have unconditional respect, somebody to whom I look up, and somebody that hopefully one day, if I'm ever able to do so, will become an educator that has impacted a third of the humans that she has throughout her years on Earth. Please welcome the Executive Director and founder of the Academy for Scholastic and Personal Success, Dr. Ruth White.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. And thanks everybody for having me, asking me to speak. I only have 2 minutes, and so I'm intimidated because the Academy is more than a 2-minute talk. So I will first say, pick up information on the Academy out on the table. I will second say, write down theacademysps.com, that's our website. Anything I don't say, you can go there and look at it, or if you have a question, you can ask me at the end. Third thing I'll say is the Academy is recruiting right now. The Academy recruits students incoming 9th through 12th grade, students who identify as African, African American, or biracial. It is a program that is unapologetically for students of color. The focus is academic and cultural. We believe, and research bears this out, that students who know who they are culturally will do better academically, because you've got to know where you come from in order to know where you're going. So that's what we do. It is not a remedial program. It is not a program that focuses on sports. It is a program that focuses on academics. We teach social studies and literature, math, science, and post-secondary seminar, which translates to how to get into college. What do you have to do? We are focused on teaching students how to do school, from you have to be on time, to you have to have your pencil, to you have to have your book, to you have to know how to participate, to you have to know how to discuss, to all of that stuff happens in the Academy. We hold our sessions on a college campus so that students know what college looks like. We are currently housed at Mount Mercy University. We are thankful to them every day for their generosity. We have totally African American staff so that our teachers are automatically mentoring as they are teaching. The selection process for our staff is rigorous. So we're not half-stepping. We are serious about preparing students to be on an upward trajectory. We believe that students can achieve with the proper guidance, and we provide that guidance. We have an adjunct program called the Academy Expansion for students in grades 3 through 5. And if we can get district permission, we will have a program for middle schoolers taking the place of the AAAP program, which is hobbling right now. And then if we can get that in place, we will have a safety net for our children from elementary school through high school. The Academy is 30 years old. And I will not be doing it forever. But I will be doing it until I find somebody who has the same level of passion that I have. You have to believe that these kids can achieve. You have to believe that they are not throwaway. You have to believe that they are future citizens and that they will be productive. The other thing we do, which I think makes a difference for, stand up you guys, the Academy students who came today. I know I'm over, and I'm gonna, thank you. I'm going to wrap up by saying we also travel to places where students can see African American heritage and positive reflection, so we go all over the place, but a student has to earn the right to get on the bus. We are recruiting right this minute. If you have a kid that you don't know what to do with during the summer, and they have a decent grade point average, sign them up. Thank you.
Next representatives from the Brothers to Brothers and Sisters to Sisters group, please. Oh my goodness.
I'm president of Brothers to Brothers, so I have to talk. So this group is about mentoring and helping students of color, especially African American young males, do well in school and be able to find a positive outreach so that they can talk about what they're feeling and what's going in and around the school and what problems can be solved. This group is mainly, I shouldn't say that. This group is the purpose of this group is to give a positive light on the African American community and the school, that's so that we're not all seen as fighters or gang members or kids who are disrespectful to adults. And I'll let. Oh, we're from Wash. So this is a Wash.
I'm Marquise. I'm also part of Brothers to Brothers, and I also go to Wash. Okay, fine. Since he said one more, I'll keep it a little short. Basically, another thing I wanted to mention on, since Travell talked about most of it, was we get together every Monday. We also, one of our goals is to try to find something on how we could do to help our community a lot, and we're in the process of trying to get more members. So again, if you have anybody that wants to come, let them come, because we need more members. But we're in the process of trying to get more people, because we always are talking about what we can do to help the community or what we can do to make it look like we're a better community and to help ourselves no matter what's going on. And so since we have 1 minute, I'll keep it at that, and I'll let Sisters and Sisters come.
Hello, my name is Diamond Roundtree. I already introduced myself earlier, but I'm Vice President of Sisters to Sisters. And so we basically do what Brothers to Brothers do, but we talk about things that women of color go through. Because, we are women and we are of color, we have to do more because, we're women and of color. But we also talk about how to shed a positive light on our community and within our schools. Like Travell said, we really don't have a positive reputation for women of color, especially at our school. But we do that, and we teach women how to carry themselves and how to be queens in the society that they are in. So yeah.
I don't really want to Okay, hello, I'm Chris Wright. So these are my babies at Washington. So every Monday the males meet, and you can't just show up. So I don't take just anyone. You need to prove yourself, to prove that you are a king and you are a queen. So we try to teach that we need to conduct ourselves as such, because so many times there's examples all over, not just in Washington, but all over, to where we are seen differently. So we need to step up. So we try to embrace ourselves and carry ourselves as such. And if they don't, they know I come for them. So, and on Tuesdays, the girls meet. Right now, we are in the process of trying to get together because we're going to go to a step show. And we also have Washington Steppers, and they will be participating in the step show. They don't know this yet. But, and we're also trying to pair up and mentor in the elementary schools. So they will be going to the elementary schools, and hopefully we can keep those relationships all the way through high school.
Yeah.
Meet right after school on Mondays for an hour from 3 to 4.
Boys and Girls Club, please.
Where's Nancy at? I got her.
She's right there. Look at her, she moved from the back.
Hi, my name is Laurie Ampey. I am the Director of Programming and Outreach for the Boys and Girls Club. In my 2 minutes, I'm just going to briefly tell you some of the things that we have going on at the club. Basically, the club operates out of 5 different locations in the city. We have Olivet, we have Taylor, we have our South Unit, we have Hoover School, and what am I missing? We also have a new site that we opened up in Iowa City at Faith Academy. So the programs that we do is that we have an after-school program that runs daily from 3 to 6 on Monday and Friday. I'm trying to hurry because I know you're just going to cut me off here in a second. So we offer programming for kindergarten through middle school. We also do a summer program from 9 to 5:30. And I'm happy to say that we're going to be launching a new program this summer called Pop-Up Clubs. So what we're going to do is, because transportation is a huge problem for some of the kids in the neighborhood, is we're going to take our club out to the neighborhoods. And we're going to set up this. So very excited about that program. So in saying that, I would say to you, we are looking for volunteers to come in and help with this program. And then last and not least, we also have a parent advisory council. Alicia, where are you at? That is our president back there. And when we talk about the connection between the clubs, the schools, and the community, our parent advisory council it kind of operates our club. It brings in our volunteers, it does our events, and really takes the focus off the staff and the team and what we need to accomplish in working with the kids. So my time is probably up, so I just want to thank you. No, we need volunteers, and one of the biggest things we need volunteers for is middle school and high school students. We can't get people to come in and volunteer to operate and run those groups. So if you're interested, Alicia has information back there. You can see her or get a hold of me. Thank you.
And lastly, our snapping program. Mr. Humbles, Mr. Doolin.
Well, first of all, we're going to assume that it's 2 minutes for both of us. Just kidding. I'm Shelby Humbles, and I'm one of the co-lead facilitators for Unsnapping. It's Unsnapping, Managing Multi-Generational Emotions and Royalty. The last one is really important. Most of us don't realize that we come from kings and queens, and the reason that I know that most of us don't realize that we come from kings and queens is we ask our young men where we come from, and too many times I hear slavery. Okay? That's one of the reasons that we need Unsnapping. We take an Afrocentric approach. It's not I, it's we. We are our community. What we're doing today, they've been doing in Africa for years. So it's extremely important for our young men to know that they are royalty. I tell the young men, I'm the old guy in the group. Deacon just qualified for Social Security. I tell them they need to be successful. They need to be successful so I can continue to get my Social Security income stream. And I'm serious about that. I ask them, how much money do you want to make? And most of them say $50 to $1 million. And I ask them then, how many of you have been in detention? And most of them raise their hands. And when they raise their hands, I make them aware that that $50,000 or $1 million a year job you want, guess what? It just went down to 45 cents. And I got the hook. Dietrich?
All right. All right. I'm Dietrich Doolin. I'm one of the co-lead facilitators. And, you know, as Mr. Humble said, royalty is important. Our kids need to know how valuable they are, how talented they are. They need to know that the Hidden Figures was a mistake, that people should have known about Hidden Figures a long time ago. There are things that happen in this country that not just black kids, but all kids and all people to know about, right, Dr. White? History, black history is not just for black folks. You know, Thomas Edison got credit, Thomas, for the light bulb. Y'all know about Lewis Latimer? Lewis Latimer didn't, if Lewis Latimer doesn't do the filament, there ain't no light. You got to know about history. You got to know the first successful open heart surgery was done by Daniel L. Williams, a black man. But just black kids need to know about that. So we teach them about their history. One of the things we do every week we play a video called Royalty. The focus is on you can be whatever you want to be. Every week, because we're trying to drill into these young men that they are royalty, that they come from kings and queens and they can be anything they want to be. And they got to, so one of the things we want to get them away from is the distorted images of them. Because there are a lot of distorted images of them. They are not thugs, they are not crooks, you know, and they need to know that. They need to know they can be something. So we really focus on that. We need to let you know this program came off a paper that was written by Virgil Gooding Sr., Multi-Generational Anger in African American Males. A published paper, not just something he wrote, a published paper. Now he's passed away. He's passed away, but that program was what we developed this program off of. And the other thing you need to know about that is that we need to get the parents involved. We did this program for the first 3 years. We had some kids, they were angels up in our room, but we found out at home, they was holy terrors. You know, they had moms and dads that were scared of them. But in our classroom, they did everything right, said everything right. So we had to get the parents involved in that. So we want them to. We use local role models that look like them. We bring them in so they can see the people that look like them that have done some things, but also who had some challenges. Because everybody's had some challenges. I don't care how rich you are, you have some challenges. Even if it's where to bank your money, where to get your money, keep your money at. We also try to get them connected with mentors, but we really focus on bringing parents in. We also want to let you know that the LBA, Boys and Girls Club, Rites of Passage group, we have now got to the point where we've cross-referred kids to each other's groups. You know, it's time out for we the only program in town, because we are not the only program in town. But again, we want you to know our program is open. We're right now doing it in a couple of the middle schools, but we really want our kids to know who they are and that they can be whatever they want to be. And we need you to help with that. Thank you. We're currently in Franklin and McKinley.
Franklin and McKinley.
Probably sounds like I work at NPR, and now we're going to have the Cedar Rapids Civil Rights Commission come up here and speak.
Hey everybody, my name is Brianna Gibson. I'm an intern at the Cedar Rapids Civil Rights Commission, and we are a local administrative law enforcement agency that enforces the local Chapter 69 code, so that's our civil rights code here in Cedar Rapids. And our mission is to make sure that everyone is free from discrimination in different areas, including housing, employment, credit, public accommodations, and education. And we want to make sure that this city become a welcoming and accepting city for everyone, for all students, for all people, all community members, all parents, etc., everyone. And some of the ways that we do that is by investigating alleged discrimination complaints, but more importantly, education, by providing civil rights education and outreach and training. And some of the things that we do for local students K through 12 is the first thing is Donald the Anti-Dolphin Discrimination Skit, where we're teaching students from kindergarten to second grade about being welcoming of each other, loving one another, letting everyone sit at the table with them. And then another thing we do is a fair housing poster contest, which I'll allow Keenan Lee, who's another intern at the Civil Rights Commission, to discuss.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. So I saw that we have this awesome group of students over here, so I'm kind of speaking directly to you. So, or if you have kids as well, can everybody hear me without the mic? Okay, I don't like mics.
You need a mic.
I need a mic. Okay. It's a little weird now. All right, so basically, the Civil Rights Commission, we're having our 5th annual Fair Housing Poster Contest. which is an opportunity for K through 12 students in the Cedar Rapids community to win $500 of scholarship money by creating a poster and winning first place depicting our theme. So our theme for this year is fair housing opens doors and welcomes all. So on the information packet, we have like 10 or so like outside, so please come pick up one. But so you would just create a poster like similar to this. Sorry, I know I moved away from the mic, my bad. So yeah, you would just create a poster like this, and they would be judged by our commission members at the Cedar Rapids Civil Rights Commission, and whoever wins first place in our 3 grade categories, which is K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12, sorry. The first place winners would have the opportunity to win $500 of college scholarship money, which is like amazing for just having to create a poster. And you also get to learn more about like fair housing and things like that. So I would definitely encourage you guys to pick up an information packet, please. And you know, if you have kids, get them in on this contest. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of our afternoon, our second afternoon. I'd like to remind you that on this table here, you have items from these community groups that spoke at you today, and hopefully you can take or will take one piece of literature from each group to become better informed if this was the first day that you had heard of one or all, or just to reiterate the information you already had about them. Our next meeting is April 24th. Same place, same time, Mrs. Humbles? And please, if you can, please bring a friend with you, and then ask your friend to bring somebody with them. There's a reality to these meetings, I believe, that are twofold. Attendance may be harmed given that the weather gets better. The problem with that is that problems still fester. And just because it's a really nice sunny day, possibly on April 24th at 2 o'clock, doesn't mean that this problem is going to go away, that these problems won't continue to be here. Secondly, yes, sir?
You're getting a lot of looks. People want to know if it's the 21st.
It's not. I'm sorry, 4th, 24th. Oh, can't be?
28th.
April 28th, okay. All right. April 28th, thank you. I appreciate that.
Everybody's paying attention, that's good.
That's shocking. So as you can see above my left shoulder, it is April 28th. I was given that information by Mrs. Humbles. So, and perhaps not to end on a dark note, but one that is realistic. One of the groups, I believe Anthony, your group had mentioned that somebody is from the East Coast and they had been a teacher there. Is that correct? And I had forgotten that while teaching out on Long Island, I'd forgotten that that is what did happen at our schools. That we went from 7:30 until 11, and then there was an hour break, and then from 1 until 8 o'clock, the school was open for any parent to show up. And I wasn't at Bronx Science. I wasn't in one of your I wasn't in Scarsdale. Although I was in Massapequa, there were parents in that community that were just as, perhaps maybe more, if not less, financially or vehicularly challenged as those who live here. There are 2 points to this overall point. The first is that income, and please do not marry what I'm about to say to Bernie Sanders, okay? Income inequality is a real issue. And communities are suffering. Communities do suffer. But how come people will question, why is it so bad for them? Well, as a historian, as a history teacher, as a student of government, and as a student of history, for more than 27 years, I can tell you emphatically why. It's because this country created it as such. They did. And I'm not, you didn't hear me say the white man did that. I didn't say that. I said this country did that. Those 55 delegates that sat in Philadelphia in the summer of 1787 purposefully wrote the Constitution the way they wrote it, for a reason. They kept anybody who looked like me, and I'm light compared to the people they were afraid of. And if you're white and don't own property, they didn't write it for you either. And you can forget about it if there's an S in front of the letters H and E. Meaning, if you're a she, it wasn't written for you either. And then, let's fast forward with the she comment for just a moment. You have to wait until 1919 to get the right to vote, and then if you had the proper hue, you could vote. And then this country spent over 200 years fighting with each other, fighting geographically for those who wanted to ascend. Well, if you keep them separated, now I am purposely speaking of black, brown, and biracial. If you keep them separated, if you keep them illiterate, they won't learn, and they can't communicate. And that is the way it was founded here. That's not me being some revisionist Howard Zinn lover. That's just me being realistic. So, flipping that into Cedar Rapids for the 21st century. This is the Cedar Rapids Community School District. And unfortunately, this issue does primarily concern black, brown, and biracial students. And so if you are a white educator, don't be afraid to stand in front of your classroom and speak truth to power, because failure sees everybody. And you can't go home with those students at night. You cannot do that, which is why I speak to the community. You have to be home at night. And you have to invest in your child. And so this room right here, multiplied in April, is a start. This is a start, and February was a start, because the only way we are going to positively affect the entire Cedar Rapids community is by coming together as a community to fix it. Thank you for attending. Take food, take literature, and we'll see you in a month.
Everybody, sit back down for just a moment. We got one more thing to do. So, excuse me, everybody, sit back down for just a moment. 2 minutes. Everybody. Okay, go ahead.
Think about what is going to be your personal commitment, because now we're looking for commitment from folks from the community, and it was great we had these organizations talk about their needs. And so now it is time, we're going to ask, what is your personal commitment? That's what I wanted to say. Lanisha, is there anything else you need to say about?
I did just party with that thought.
Right. Come back with that. What is your personal commitment?
And please make a personal commitment.
Yes.
That's the key. Okay. Go ahead. All right.